Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order then.
Want me to give Dwayne a call and remind him?
He got a reminder, he'll show up. This is a meeting of the Drum Point property owners.
Sure.
This is Reed. Let me start over. This is a meeting of the Drum Point Property Owners Association Board of Directors. Robert's Rules of Order govern the meeting. Please don't speak until you're recognized by the chair. And we are being recorded for accuracy purposes. The first thing on the agenda is President's remarks. And I have one of these pieces of I've been busy. I had a month's worth of work condensed into a week this month, so I've been busy for the last week. There was some questions raised about the elections, about the validity of the elections that are ongoing, that we're in the middle of. So and there were questions about the correctness and the legality vote. I did speak to our attorney about it on Monday, and he assures me that he sees nothing illegal or invalid about the election. So we're going to go on with the election as it's been going on for a while. In fact, we have a lot of ballots back in the legal. Only one person gets to go to take the ballots out of the post office files. Yes. You didn't get that? You should talk to me.
Okay.
That's not good.
I don't feel good about it.
Rita's not allowed to get them out.
There's a correction here. She did get it out.
Got it.
Okay.
Tally
My
Rita.
signature's on the bottom, not her.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
All right, moving on. We believe that the proper process was followed. There was also a question about the policies and procedures being followed correctly. And I looked into that and found that, yeah, it is true that our printed policies and procedures, as in all of the manuals, calls for a different process than what we were using. But there's a reason for that. That process that's detailed in our policies and procedures manual, when we tried to use it several years ago, we found that for 300 ballots was taking 8 days to get done. So we threw that out and we are using another process which we believe also assures the integrity of the ballots. So for the past 5 elections at least, we've been using this other procedure that isn't detailed in our policies and procedure manuals. And I'll point out that the policies and procedure manual is only a guideline anyway. So that's not the case. So we will be looking into, we have to get that committee going again to redo our policies and procedures. That's not the only thing in there that needs to be updated. So that brings us to a resignation that we all heard. Well, for those of us that were here at our last board meeting, there was a resignation from the floor. At the time, I'll remind everybody that well, I speak for myself. I was of the opinion that it was spoken in the heat of the moment, and I didn't take it as a final gospel thing about the resignation. I since heard that the resignation was to be real, so I sent an email and asked for the person to reconsider, and I spoke for all of you by saying we really didn't want him to resign, but if you really felt like he needed to resign, would you please respond? He did. There is a resignation. So now that we have an opening on the board, we have an empty seat, a vacant seat, I would like to recommend and make my appointment of Paula Walker to fill that seat. We can call Paula. We'll do it after. We have confirmation from Paula, a written confirmation that she will serve. And so I'm about to give you a few words about Paula, but go ahead.
I was gonna ask you, does the board have to accept the resignation before we move?
The way the bylaws are written is the president appoints someone with the approval of the board.
He's
Dan.
asking about the board's action on the resignation.
Is that what you were asking?
I was asking, do we need to take action with resignation?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure.
But I will say, without exception, we would accept his resignation. That covers it. It's just that simple. And we do not have to do that, though.
I was just.
Yeah, you know, and I did ask our attorney when I had him on the phone about that, and it turns out that some of the research I did about resignations turns out not to be the case. This is why we have an attorney. He said, there's a state law, Gary, that says if someone says they resign, they resign. You don't get to say, well, only if I approve it. So,
Well, it's helpful that we have it in writing at
we
this
know
point.
how that process is now. Unfortunately, our governing documents are silent on resignations. They don't say a thing. So, Ms. Walker lives over on Mills Creek. Has been a property owner for many years. I'm not sure the amount, probably about 8 years maybe. And is a member in good standing, has volunteered and done things with the community before. She was away for a while and rented her house out. She is now back and in the process of moving here full-time. I think she would be a real plus on the board and would recommend approval of her. So what's the
I
pleasure?
move that we agree to your appointment.
Have a second
I'll second
Do we have any
discussion?
details that you can provide us on what community activities she used to
Well,
participate
I
in?
think she was part of the CERT team once upon a time, before she left. You know, she was involved in all sorts of things. I think she served, yes.
I
You can
recall
help me
she
out?
helped, I can somewhat. I recall she helped, when we were trying a number of years ago to amend the covenants. She helped a great deal in, processing that ballot and speaking with people, distributing letters and so on.
Community minded
Community
when she
minded.
was here.
Yes.
I had a long talk with her about it, and she seems anxious to be able to contribute to the board. So, with that in mind, any other discussion? And we call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And that's all I have in my president's remarks. Yeah, if you'll bear with me, I'm gonna call Paula and let her listen in on the rest of the meeting. I need the number.
It's right there.
Oh, and when in doubt, read that. That's David's real point. I'm not answering. Sorry, celery. Can't reach her,
Hello?
Paula,
Yeah,
hi, it's Gary Heel and the rest of the board, plus a gallery full of people.
hi.
Just to let you know, you have just been affirmed as an appointee to the board,
Oh, okay, thank you.
okay? And
I
you'll be attending the meeting by phone now, and moving on with the agenda. So next thing on the agenda is public comment. And is there any comment from the public? Mr. Holt?
And I just wanted to say that I've known Paula ever since she moved down here. Her husband died shortly after she arrived, and she is a neighbor of ours. And she's always been active in the community, making a lot of friends. And I just think the board has made the right decision. And welcome you as one member of the community to the board, Paula, and well done, and thank you for willing to serve.
Thank you, Peter, very much.
Looks
You're a
like,
great neighbor too.
looks like you owe him a drink too. Okay,
Right.
okay, moving on. Anybody else have anything to say? Okay, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion about the minutes?
I so move.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion about the minutes? Hearing no discussion, call for the vote. All those in favor
I,
of approving the minutes and opposed? Very good. Office update. Rita, you have the floor.
Okay, I've been collecting payments, continue to collect payments, and so far we have 58% of the owners have paid fully. That's 746 members in good standing. Collected a total of $137,404, and of that amount, $44,106 is for mandatory assessments, $93,308 for covenants, and the STD available at the county has not changed from last month. It's $111,000 approximately, and that includes the amount set aside for the recent project for the drainage, and that's $8,300. Good news, Southern Maryland Oil, I think this has something to do with the attic and the insulation. You know, we pay a monthly, the same amount every month and so on. And we just had a letter saying that that would be reduced from $240 a month to $150. I think that's quite a lot.
that's the oil.
That's the oil for the heating.
So they've refilled our oil tank after a year.
Well, they refill it periodically on a regular basis, but we pay the same amount every single month. And at the end of the year, you either pay a little more because you
Right,
use
right,
more
right.
than they expected, or you pay a little less
So
because
it's
you,
down, it's
to $150 a month,
from
240.
35%.
We were wondering if that would have an effect, so that's good.
Great.
As you all know from reading the newsletter, which I know everybody does, there's an event at the club, July 3rd and July 4th, and I posted that on the website.
Co-sponsored event.
It's a co-sponsored event, yes. Ballots were mailed on May 26th. We have a tally committee. Peggy Wellheim is collecting the ballots. Len Addis is on the tally committee, and Mr. and Mrs. Logan volunteered to be on it. And also the newsletter was mailed and emailed on May 29th. That's it.
Okay. About the tally committee, we, Kurt, who is not here to defend himself, so I can pick on him, volunteered to help the tally committee understand the responsibilities and what the process is going to be, and to help oversee to make sure the process is followed. So, be aware of that. Okay. So volunteer. Next we have the round table, and we'll start on this end. Dan, do you have anything?
Nothing for the round table.
Amy?
I have nothing to report.
Nothing. Well, I do, and since I didn't put it in my president's remarks, I'll cover it now. This week I had 2 phone calls that were of note. One of them was from Tony O'Donnell. And Tony wanted to discuss our increase in the covenant fees. And we had a good talk. We talked for about a half hour. And he understood our position and why we were doing what we were doing. He actually agreed with it, with why we were doing what we were doing. He also suggested that he might be able to help us fix any issues that might be with the STD. And I will just leave it at that. I told him, well, it was a year before we have to do it again, and it might be a good time, and we would be glad to work with him if he wanted to work with the commissioners on our behest. So that was one phone call, and the other one was from a reporter at the Calvert Recorder. Apparently the recorder has received a letter to the editor complaining about our budgeting process and the way we're doing things in general, I guess. The reporter asked for time to sit down for a 2 or 3 hour interview to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And when I asked, what's the interest? She said, well, this letter that we have brings out some interesting things, and she kind of indicated that she thought that they weren't valid, and she wanted to hear our side of it. So I haven't, I have set up an appointment, but it's out a couple of weeks, and I think I will go ahead and meet with her and see if we can work that out. I did express to her that back when we were doing the STD 4 or 5 years ago, was when we did the STD. Remember? I was misquoted by the same newspaper, and I told her, I said, look, you're going to interview me, we're going to make sure that when you get it, you don't misquote me or make me look bad. Or maybe we won't do this at all. Oh, I assure you we won't. So we'll see. And that's all I have. So going around. You're it, Fran.
I'm very glad to be back here, and,
You were here
I'm
last
looking
month.
for, what? Where were you? Where was I?
Traveling.
We've been traveling, yes.
I'm a district, first district governor for the Lions International, and we've been out to Dover, Delaware for a week. We've been busy.
Yeah,
Good.
And then I do visitations
yeah,
to 48 clubs, and she comes along.
Excellent.
yeah, I enjoy it.
Okay.
Okay.
Larry?
I really don't have anything.
So you've had a really quiet time.
Yeah,
Dwayne?
things are good.
Aubrey?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so that's round table.
Gary?
Oh, I'm sorry, back. Oh, Kurt, you stuck in, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kurt, what do you have?
I tried to sneak in.
Very good.
Nothing.
Great, I like
He's upfront about it.
it. Okay. Okay, committee reports. Jeff, we'll let you cover the, what's going on with the roads.
Well, we did complete the 3 storm drainage projects that were approved a month or so ago. The one on Michael's, one on Lake, and one on Bay. Those were completed, and we had a pre-bid yesterday for the asphalt overlay, which is bid opening is next Monday. So we'll see what kind of numbers. We got a good turnout, 5 companies that we had sent the information packets out to. So the more contractors you have, the more competitive the pricing is going to be. So we're looking forward to bid opening on this coming Monday.
Okay. Next is the roads committee, that's me. We haven't had a meeting to do that, but with this paving coming up, I probably should do that. So I have no report. Finance, Amy?
Just as we're nearing the end of the fiscal year, the end of this month, the first page has a bunch of anomalies, as I mentioned every month, so we don't go into it. But there are some noteworthy things. Things are pretty much going as budgeted, but if you turn to page 3 of the horizontal piece, D3100, we will be spending money on Drum Point Bay. we budgeted $1,500 for the whole category of events, and we'll use a chunk of that for Drum Point Day, July 4th. Is that July 4th?
Third and fourth, well,
Yeah,
fourth, yes.
okay, it's just sort of turning into a weekend, okay. And under D3404, we've spent almost $500 on ballots against $800 budgeted. That hasn't been charged through our credit card, but it will appear soon. And I guess, I mean, everything's just going along the way we expected. There's one big anomaly, and that is if you go to the first page, the second page, 2 of 60, 1,600 legal. We had budgeted from Drum Point funds mandatory assessment. We had budgeted $15,000 and we've spent 2,405. There'll be a little bit more because of some recent short conferences, but that's it. So that's very nice news.
Okay, is that it? Any questions? Okay. There's been no planning committee meeting, so no report. Safety committee, Peter?
Yeah, I got a few things I'd like to mention if I could. First of all, I attended a briefing for emergency responders in preparation for a countywide exercise to respond to a radiological emergency. I think this was sort of done to, I don't know, to prepare for the larger exercise which takes place in the fall when FEMA and everybody comes down and examines our ability to respond to emergencies at the nuclear power plant. And it was a very useful briefing. It was well done, it was well attended. And I enjoyed learning about alpha, beta, and gamma rays and what they do to you over time. And if anybody wants more details, yeah, you can be happy to brief you. We have a firefighter on our safety committee, Alexei Velasquez. He is in charge of the EMTs at the Solomons Volunteer Fire Department. And the reason he isn't coming to these meetings is that he is getting training for the anticipation of the LNG plant. So it's good to hear that that the LNG plant is bringing up to speed some of our local responders. Third item I'd like to say is that the Emergency Operations Center, which has for years been in the basement of the Prince Frederick Courthouse, it's quite an extensive facility. It's located with the 9/11 room where all the telephone calls come in 24 hours a day. The 9/11 room or operating center will remain where it is. However, the EOC over the next 6 months, it's almost completed. The facility is moving down the road as if you were going to St. Mary's County. If you're in Prince Frederick, and there's the Ford dealer, and you go on that road as if you're going over the little bridge to go to St. Mary's County. Well, you go down there about 2 miles or a mile, and on the right-hand side is a Calvert Buildings, including the Calvert County Detention Center. Well, adjacent to the detention center are public works centers and all this. And the Emergency Operating Center is moving into the basement of a very large structure. It's a rather complicated process because there are many antennas, communication facilities, computers and everything that have to be what's located in the EOC is every agency that might have a role in any emergency: transportation, hospitals, medical, police, transportation, roads, police, They are all co-located in the Emergency Operations Center. The Calvert Amateur Radio Association, of which we are an adjunct to, also has 2 seats in the Emergency Operations Center, which is directly relevant to what the board has agreed to in the past in terms of supporting them. My final note I'd like to say is I submitted a request to the office here to amend our bylaws along with other amendments in order to put the safety committee listed in our bylaws as a permanent committee. This is important for legal and liability reasons. Thank you, Gary. That's all I have to say.
One more reason why we need to have the bylaws committee fired back up. Start doing
Gary,
it. Yes.
Yesterday, I gave Gary 2 copies of an insurance agent's card,
Okay,
and he saw no reason why volunteers
okay.
of organizations, volunteers that do things such as our old emergency response team, can't be given liability insurance by the parent organization. And I had another example, which I've come upon recently as well. So the 2 of you can follow up and verify whether we can increase the type of liability coverage toward what the CERT used to have for the county.
Okay. Moving on, old business, we have nothing. Does anybody have any old business that we didn't get on the agenda?
Gary, can I mention one thing?
Yes, certainly.
When you meet with this newspaper person, are you gonna meet here at the office with Rhea?
Yes,
So
I
you're
am.
Okay, that's what, but first I hate to see you go one-on-one with anybody, but if Rhea's here because she's been here forever, and back you up on everything.
Yeah, I may even have somebody else.
Videotape it.
Well, no, just she knows all the ins and outs of everything, and you could say something and she would catch it, whether it was right or wrong.
I tried to get her to send me a list of questions and I would respond. She said, no, we don't do that.
So political.
I'm trying to protect myself, man. Okay, but thanks, that's good advice.
Okay.
Okay, new business, on to new business. We have 2 quick claim requests, and since the Millers are here,
No, the damn one.
I mean, the Danmeyers are here, let's cover theirs first. Did you do a printout of one?
I
You did?
sent everyone
Is-
by email.
Has everybody seen this? Let me take a minute to explain what we're doing. And remind everybody that
Only 1 minute.
it's not gonna take, it's gonna take more than 1 minute. In 2007, in March, this was first brought up to the board by a product, I forgot who the property owner was.
Things. No,
No,
Mr. Brewer.
Mr. Gribble, who wanted one so he could build a dock. And there was a big brouhaha about it, if you remember. You can't give away things without the entire general membership voting on it. Any transfer of any property, and a quitclaim is a de facto transfer of, it's not really a transfer, but it's could be argued that it's giving away something. That was under advisement from March till December. And in December, there was a motion by Zane Mason and was amended by another property owner,
Gagnon.
Mr.
Tom
Gagnon.
Gagnon was on with it when I was with him.
And it went to a vote, even though it was tried to be tabled twice. It went to a vote and it was voted overwhelmingly to give this board the ability to grant quitclaim for riparian rights only. So let's talk about what a quitclaim is. Quitclaim is nothing more than a statement from one person or entity to another saying, we don't claim any of these rights to this thing. Okay? Whatever is detailed in the quitclaim, we don't claim it. A riparian right is the right to, first of all, any accreted or decreted land that is land that was built up or taken away by the action of the water. That's number one. Number two, it is access to the water. In other words, if I own a lot between my lot and yours, and you wanted access to the water, I could grant you a quick claim to riparian rights, and you could cross my property to get to the water. Which is one of the things we're doing here. We're telling them they can do that. It's also used commonly to put in bulkheads, to allow people to put bulkheads in, or to have docks which then would cross over Drum Point's property. Let me remind you all that when this Drum Point was subdivided, the contract, or the developer, did not run the property lines to the mean high water mark. They put lines, specific property lines, along the water. Drum Point retains the ownership everywhere there is water between the property lines of each lot and the mean high water mark. In this case, it's about a foot, maybe none, you could argue. I don't know. But it's not much, if it's any.
Well, then they don't have waterfront property.
Good point.
Technically, that's true.
Technically,
Nobody in Drum Point
technically
has
you're right.
waterfront
And then you can lower
property.
their-
But I would advertise it that way anyway. So, what they're asking for here is for us to grant a quick claim, which we've done for other properties, to allow them to have access to the water across our property, to have a bulkhead along the water, and to have, and all the other things that come with riparian rights that I've already talked about. That's what we're talking about. So, I will entertain a motion about the quick claim, and then we can discuss it.
So motion that we discuss this quick claim.
Discuss, not grant,
That we grant quick
okay?
I'll second
All right, so now that I've given you an explanation, is there anyone that wants to talk about why we should or should not do this? Let me go to Dan first.
Can you provide a little more detail on how the community members' access is impacted or not impacted by this? What exactly the granting these riparian rights to the property owner does or does not do to the community's access through that DPPOA
It
property?
would have no effect on it. And because we're only granting riparian rights, we're not granting, if you think about real estate as a bundle of sticks, this is my old real estate training, it's a bundle of sticks. And each one of those sticks is a right to the property. When you have the entire bundle of sticks, you have fee simple ownership. If any of the sticks are removed or given away or sold, for example, gas or mineral rights, riparian rights, and there are a whole bunch of, there's like 50 or 60 different rights. If you give any of them away or don't have them, you're no longer fee simple. But that doesn't mean you don't retain all of the other rights.
Which means the DPPOA retains all the other rights.
Exactly, which means the only right we're giving up is the right for them to cross our property and to have a dock or a, whatever they need, the bulkhead for access to the water. So their access is unimpeded, we're letting them have that. That doesn't mean
Gary?
we don't retain, just 1 second, I'll come to you, Paula.
Okay.
We still retain the ownership of that property, whatever it is, however much it is, a foot or 2 feet. Paula, you had a question?
Well, I'm sort of in a blind because I don't have anything in front of me. Where is the property located that you are talking about?
Well, without anything in front of you, I think you can relate to it this way. If you're going down the road to Peter's property, there's 2 lots to the right of it that have been for sale.
Yes,
It's those 2 lots.
okay.
It's not on the bay?
It is not, it's on the creek, on Mill Creek, yes.
So if a property owner was walking along the beach, so to speak, then they would be within their rights to cross over the bulkhead
Or
the
dock.
dock or whatever in order to continue traveling along the beach
Correct,
after this has been granted.
that's correct, as long as they stayed on Drum Point property.
And the other question that just now occurred to me is ownership of the dock extending out into the actual water. The state of Maryland actually owns the water down here, correct?
That's correct.
So who actually owns that dock that is in the water itself?
The property owner that built it and extends from their property.
So it's in the state's property, so to speak, but they retain ownership
See,
of
the
all of
state
that.
has a law about riparian rights, and so that's given automatically. 1 second, yeah, just go ahead, Paula.
I'm just curious, as I've had some dealings with this one, in my situation, but when you do build a dock, as you're talking about a dock, don't you have to get permission from your neighbors on both sides?
Well, you have to get a permit, and the permitting process does require certain things. If it requires a variance, it would require permission from the property owners on either side. If it doesn't require variance, no, it wouldn't.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
My question is, in that particular property, it's only recently had new bulkheads installed on the property, which I assume, basically, but there's no question of a beach. There's no question of that at all. It's simply that there's a brand new bulkhead installed, and what is it, maybe a one foot
If there's
strip
any,
that we're talking
maybe
about?
6 inches, who knows, I don't know. I did go down and look, and it appears to me that the survey marks, assuming they're correct, shows that the bulkhead is well into Drum Point's property. I don't think that's all that unusual. I mean, if you look around,
No, but in terms of riparian rights of people having access to walk the beach, there is no beach.
correct, in this
it's-
case. But if we were talking about the bay,
Yeah.
that's a different story, yeah.
But in this case, if the bulkhead is waterward of where the property marker is, then the bulkhead actually is quote-unquote DPPOA property, so that would be
That's
the
correct.
access point for people walking
You're absolutely
along
right,
the
Dan. If
beach.
somebody were to come walking across there,
right.
and you told them to get off, you may not be absolutely legal. Yes.
I am pleased that all of these things are being articulated because along the bay, there are several property owners who have told my husband and myself that we could not have access to that mean high water beach area, presumably because they have riparian rights. I think it's very, very important, and not that I'm saying you're planning to do anything nefarious at all, but I think it's very important that any action we have clarified in some detail the discussion here about what these riparian rights do and do not entail for the rest of the community members. I think this needs to be also stated in the newsletter and probably put on the website.
That's a good idea. Okay, Dwayne,
I was just thinking, I just want to make sure I understand, so the responsibility for any permits or anything like that would be the responsibility of the property owner, and you would not be involved in any of that at all.
correct.
As far as if somebody was on the dock and they injured themselves, somebody not even part of the family, but just somebody who happened to, that none of that responsibility or liability would fall.
There would be no additional liability if that's what you're asking. We always have liability if somebody hurts themselves on any of our property.
But the dock is the property of the homeowner.
The dock, if they're on the dock, you were saying
That's
the
what
dock.
that's what
I'm thinking the property.
I meant
the dock.
I meant
You're
the
right.
dock. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that.
In that case, the bulkhead as well belongs to the property owner, is that correct?
That's correct, because they,
Even though it's in riparian.
but it extended
DPPOA
the property, the riparian rights was granted to him. That's correct.
I mean, it's all great.
So we get all the benefits and we have none of the responsibility.
I'm not sure what to do with that, yeah, but if you want to do that way, sure. Okay, any other discussion? So we have a motion on the floor with a second to grant this riparian right? Yes, Amy?
Can we append my two recommendations to the motion? The clarification of what this does and does not entail, at least in the minutes of this meeting, and backing up that motion. And also, in the general case, it needs to be put on our website and in the newsletter.
Okay, can you articulate that even more? You would like in the minutes that we do not give up any of the ownership of the property? See if I can read it back to you, tell me if I'm right. Drum Point is not giving up any ownership rights other than the riparian. We're not taking on any of the responsibility.
Right.
And the expectation is that any property owner would be able to walk on Drum Point property if they so wish.
Even if there is a bulkhead or a dock crossing it.
Okay, so that's an amendment to the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, somebody seconded it. And any additional discussion?
I'd say one thing.
Sure.
With the riparian rights, if you have that on your property and your property line goes down to the water, you get halfway across that water.
Oh, is that right? Maybe that's why the developer put it this way.
You get what?
He says he gets halfway across the water.
I don't know what that means.
Or the rights go into the water. But it doesn't apply here because the property line doesn't go to the water. Any other discussion? Then I will call for the vote on the motion as amended. All those in favor?
This is just for the Mill Creek.
This is for just this one property?
Yes.
Yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion is passed. We will execute it and get it to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now, we do not have the other property owner here, the Millers, but we do have an email and I'll read it. Thank you all for your help this morning. I'm requesting permission to be granted to have a dock on my property at 12815 Lakeview. I forgot what type of request I'm asking for. Please have this request added to the agenda for our next board meeting. The request is for the dock, this isn't written well, is for an after the fact.
Up top, you
It has already been constructed.
know, up to the right.
Let me know if it's, what the case here is, this property owner, the county found out he had a dock without a permit. And
Been there for 10 years.
the county found out he had a dock without a permit and is now required to get a permit after the fact. And of course, the county won't grant a permit without a riparian rights quick deed from us.
Is this bay or
Lakeview.
lake? I know it's Lakeview, but is the waterfront bayfront or?
Well, I think
It's lakefront, because
It's gotta be
that's how he
lakefront.
was turned in. Somebody across the bay saw him taking out some vegetation to
Lake-
replace it.
Lake.
Across the water.
Lakeview is right
Across the
here,
lake.
and the bay is out here, so this is the
It's
lake
that way.
in here. The lake, which is partially bordered by us, and the other side of the lake is the ranch club.
Right.
So
Somebody
somebody in
across
the
the
ranch
lake
club
turned
turned
him
him in. Okay, so
So it's one of these
we've already
properties up here.
discussed this very well. How do we feel about this property? Wish he'd have shown up so he could represent himself.
He said he would.
Maybe he forgot where he's
I
at.
move that we grant a court plan.
I second it.
So we have a motion and a second. We've discussed this quite a bit. Do we need to discuss it further?
Let's hope all the other provisions for the other case apply.
So, and your motion, sir, is to granted in the same manner we did the other one with the same provisions, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so, do we need discussion?
I don't think so, I think
I
we've
call for the
we've
vote.
already gone through it.
All those in favor of granting the riparian rights quitclaim to the Millers, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yay, 2 winners today.
Mr.
Okay,
President, did we
yes, sir.
verify Paula's votes?
Well, no, I didn't. I did not. Paula, would you, did
I'll
you?
go along with the group,
Oh,
even though
good
I'm in a
girl.
blind here.
Yeah,
It sounds fine, yeah, I'll vote yes.
thank you. Thank you, Dan.
I'm looking out for you.
Oh, man. Okay, the next scheduled meeting, listen, let's talk about the next scheduled meeting. We have the bids coming in for this asphalt work. It's gonna be $100,000 roughly bid, it's a big contract. I suggest we come back and meet before, as soon as we get that bid, so we can make a decision on it. The bid is to be in next Monday. I'll get the calendar up here so we can see what's the pleasure of you guys getting back together again to vote on that.
I will,
Just that one budget, that one item.
I will be leaving the country the 14th,
So
and I'm on the road committee, so if we can get together somehow next week.
We'll just do next Tuesday, Gary.
Well, that's the day after we get it in, you
Yeah,
guys
you
won't
have
have
to
much time
process.
to digest it. Or do you want to?
Well, I think that would be the thing to do, get it over and done.
We certainly
Won't
would
take
have
long.
time at the
Sure.
meeting. How's that fly with everybody else? Next Tuesday,
Is it-
Paula, can you do
Does it
that?
have to be Tuesday? Can you be
Well,
ready by then?
What'd you say, Paul?
Well, I'll have to make a special trip down there.
Okay, but you could call it.
I can call in, that would be fine. I'll try to get the information though, so on email or something, so I know what I'm.
That's gonna be
Yes.
really tight.
The information will be
Wednesday.
disseminated by email.
So we will have enough time to disseminate that information that quickly for everyone?
Well, we'll have it right away first thing in the morning.
Yeah, but some people,
Wednesday?
Wednesday, I
Okay,
think
so we're moving from Tuesday to
I
Wednesday,
think that makes a little
I
more
can't be
sense.
here Wednesday.
and we're not, Wednesday's not a good day.
Thursday,
How about Thursday? Are we going back to Tuesday?
did we, I would
If
prefer
you
Thursday.
send me that on Tuesday, I probably won't get a chance to look at it
Yeah,
because I'm at work all day.
We'll have to discuss it at the meeting.
Yeah,
We expect 5 bids.
have we vetoed Thursday?
No, we haven't. I was just asking.
Oh,
What would you do? You like Thursday?
I like Thursday.
You like Thursday?
Thursday works better for me.
Okay.
Thursday it is. Thursday at 7 o'clock.
What
Great.
date?
Be our next meeting and,
The 11th.
Thursday.
the 11th.
You have history as an auctioneer?
Okay,
Or 7.
7-Eleven.
7/11.
6/11.
At 7.
6/11.
Bet those numbers. Okay,
At 7 p.m.?
7 p.m.
Okay, good.
Okay. Next to the last item on the agenda is public comment again.
Before we.
Wait, stop, hold on. Dan?
You know, you didn't ask if anybody else had any more new business.
Oh, that's true, I didn't. Does anybody else have any new business?
And I wanted to bring up the Finance Committee membership, since Max has chosen to resign over disagreements with the budget which the Finance Committee voted and approved to present to the board, and then the board voted and approved accepting it to then present to the membership. And Max, because he disagreed with that budget, resigned from the board. I feel that that is indicative of him being at counter purposes with an item which the body of the Finance Committee voted and accepted. And therefore, I would like to make a motion for removing Max from the Finance Committee, since he is not acting as a member of that body and supporting its decisions.
Okay, so we have a motion to remove Max from the Finance Committee. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, do we need to discuss this? I mean, it's pretty obvious he's resigned, I believe.
He's resigned.
That's it.
He resigned from the board
Board,
of
he didn't
directors.
resign.
This is the finance
You know,
committee,
you have to read.
which he was appointed to, since he is no longer the treasurer.
Okay. Need any discussion? All those in favor?
Alright.
I need to.
Paula, do you have a vote? You can abstain.
I would rather abstain on this.
Yes, sounds right to me. Okay, any nays? All those against it, nay? That passes.
I'm abstaining.
Oh,
She's abstaining.
Two abstain.
Two abstentions.
two abstentions.
So everybody else was in
One
favor.
of whom is the treasurer.
It's a good reason to abstain also. Okay, thank you. Next is public comment. And Mr. S.
I have two, please.
Sure.
Road edge work. Is there a schedule for road edge
Oh, that's
work?
a good
Everything is overgrown,
Yes.
everything needs work.
Yes, in fact, it's already been awarded and we're
And when
just
is it?
having trouble getting the people on mowers to do it.
Okay.
Oh,
There is a,
Can you tell us the schedule?
We don't have it.
Oh,
firm schedule,
okay.
sorry.
I see. I'm sorry.
okay. On Bay, we have a walkway to a stair that goes down to the beach.
It's gonna be good.
Who owns the lot adjacent to that walkway?
Wendy Gagan.
Huh?
Wendy Gagan.
Are
That's
we
why we
on
keep
that
her around.
person's backside to
I'm sorry?
cut that area?
We have
It's that high.
the same gentleman that's going to be doing the road edges as they need it. Will also be doing, we have an easement there.
Yeah, we have
So he'll be
easement.
doing like a 10-foot width, I think, and the steps
We'll be cutting our
themselves.
easement.
Our
Your
easement.
easement, that's a big lot. Can we do anything with that owner to say it's a mess?
Why don't you
I
ask
can
her if we
contact
can,
her.
if she minds if we mow it? We'll mow it at the same time.
Okay. The other thing that I would like to talk about is that there is a habit of people in this community to rake their leaves and then take the leaves across the street to the vacant
Somebody
lot.
else's
And now you have vacant lots with piles of leaves. How do we address
And
that?
it's also done in our right of way, actually.
Yes.
It is in the right of way, but it's on somebody else's property as well, who doesn't seem to care.
It's been in the newsletter.
It's a mess.
Yeah, we've been addressing this off and on for years and people just keep doing it. Let me remind everybody that we don't have any police authority to take any legal action to anybody other than to sue them or fine them. And it seems counterproductive.
Mr. President,
Well, you can levy a fine, yes.
is this something that would come under county or state statutes as far as that being an illegal act, so that we could contact someone
I don't believe
and
it
have
is.
them, who has authority, address this situation?
I do not believe it is, but we can look into that.
Can I comment?
Wait just 1 second.
I just want to say that with regard to the county ordinance, let's say for grass that people allow to grow waist high, the example down on Lake in Huron before that house was purchased and flipped, the county did put a $500 fine on that property. They placed a lien on that property. It took 2 years, and the property was finally sold, and the county collected $500. But in the meantime, you still had grass that was waist high. So, for whatever that's worth.
Are you aware that that condition exists across the street right next to you?
I haven't noticed huge piles of leaves. The
Well, your neighbor next to
property,
you at 517 is taking all his stuff across the street and piling it up on the other side.
well, across from me are houses.
No,
so
I
it's
said
not a
your
vacant
neighbor
lot.
down further.
Well,
Take
that
a
would,
look.
is that down on the other side of the dip?
No, before, at the top of the dip on your side.
Oh, so on the other half, underside of the, is it the White House or is it the house that's built
Way back,
way back?
way back.
Because I guess there is a vacant lot right up in the
Across
front
the
there that is pretty much
He's got it
on a
loaded.
cliff.
Well, I think
Got
the
it
point's
noted.
been made, so we'll see what we can do. I guess we can put something in the newsletter again. We don't have any police authority for it. If we knew exactly who was doing it, we could send them a letter directly.
I can show
Well,
you the
apparently
film.
it's not an eyesore if you don't even know it's there.
Well,
That's
I
just
rarely
what it is.
go
No, he
that
doesn't go
way.
that way.
From my house,
There
I
are
come
lots
up
of
to
those.
Laurel,
Right.
and there's basically
Okay.
a large piece of property, and then that last piece of property is almost on a cliff heading down to the lake and the dip of the road. So I almost never am down that way, so I wouldn't see it unless I made a special trip to go and look.
If you go down, don't make a right on Laurel.
It's okay.
This community, I love this community, and it's not looking good. People are just not taking care of road edge.
Gary?
Yes, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not there, but a thought came to mind about, because I've been very concerned about the way properties look, and how it can really, be detrimental to your property, especially if you're going to sell it or whatever. And it's embarrassing when people come and they think that you live in a slum because your neighbors are so, careless. Did you ever think of having, I know peer pressure is so important, did you ever think of having an embarrassing column that would note houses that did not respond and actually list properties?
Well, there may be a liability issue
Yeah.
there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's something we could talk about.
Maybe we could create a column in the newsletter of areas needing attention and just put some pictures without identifying the addresses.
One of the biggest positive effects drunk drivers had, I remember, in a small community, was every week anybody that got a DUI, their name and birth date was published in their local paper. And it had such an effect on people because they didn't want to be embarrassed. So I'm just throwing this out there.
Yeah, one of the,
I have people.
not far from your house, there's a couple of cases where people are obviously taking their trash directly across the street and dumping it in the right of way. It's not on Mills Creek, it's on that, is that Leeson Cove, I suppose. But let me finish my thought. It's hard to say because it's vacant lots and right of way that it's dumped on. Unless you see the person doing it, who do I call out for doing it? That's the problem I struggle with.
Yeah, well, Gary, I'm talking more about people's property themselves.
Well, that's true.
Like, who was just saying about someone who didn't mow their lawn and it was like 3 feet high, that you definitely have a property owner that has cars thrown in their driveway or debris, that type of, so you specifically have property that you can identify, not what you're talking about, you can't identify who drops the leaves and the garbage. That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, and in the past, what we have done is sent letters to those property owners reminding them of the county ordinance and telling them that they should straighten up. We have a form letter, we send so many of them out.
I'd like to pursue this when I'm there.
Sure,
We
sounds
don't have
good.
to continue this tonight. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Lynn? Okay, any other comments? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Anybody opposed? We're done. Thank you very much.
Okay.